Looking into this, and someone had brought up Heath Ledger, and we were talking about these Joker characters, and here's where it gets kind of interesting. So let me back up here. Again, if you're not in our Gilded, just go to infiniteplane.live and you can find the link there. Okay, how did we get there? Okay, we were talking about Batman because recently Matthew Perry dies, as we've all heard. And before he died, he said something to the effect of, in one of his tweets, "I am Matman." And this got a lot of people talking about it because he had made some references to Batman and the Batman logo. It seemed like in the weeks leading up to supposed death, he was busily tweeting things that would kind of create this bit of a subtext to his story here. Anyway, someone posted this. Former Friends star Matthew Perry was being called evil and a self-indulgent tool after saying that the world would be a better place if Keanu Reeves had died instead of River Phoenix or Heath Ledger. So a couple of points here. River Phoenix is the brother of Joaquin Phoenix. Death Faker, possibly. We could go down that route. But Heath Ledger, another Joker, the Joker character. But this was a reference here, of course, to Joker. Just kind of a line from his biography or something. But we were, look, what is all this Batman stuff? Well, there's been a lot of tie-ins with Batman to Donald Trump. He called himself Batman. The QAnoners constantly see him in the Q drops as somehow referenced as Batman. It's sort of like this referring to New York as Gotham, and that's why Daniel Penny had to go on the subway and strangle Jordan Neely because it's like Gotham. We had the story of the Riddler mirrored with Frank James shooting 33 bullets into the subway after Frank James threatened the mayor, just like in the Batman movie. So that they've superimposed the Batman story over the real world in a few ways. Like Joker, for example, represents the chaos agent, the mass shooter like James Holmes. Batman is like the SWAT team, the paramilitary police response. So you have the chaos agent and the order, order, chaos. Politically, Joker represents the left, the underclass, the ones who are against the capitalistic system, whereas Batman would represent the right. So it's like commie fascist. It's the left-right divide, Billism. This is why you had the Joker masks at the end of that movie, where Joker gives himself the bloody smile, gets blood on his hands, so he's got this stigmata, and he puts his hands out. It's Joaquin Phoenix, very Christ-like. And on the posters, you see him walking with a background of flame. So he's a walking phoenix, a burning man, walking phoenix. Phoenix again, death, rebirth, and the symbol of the phoenix was synonymous with Christ for a long time. So again, pointing out that the Batman Joker thing has been kind of a staple of a lot of the psyops for some time, and specifically Trump has been associated with Batman for a lot of reasons. I mean, you can find the whole, if you believe the idea that he's somehow like rogue or he's going against the system. Here's a actual link here you can find. Trump tells a young boy he's Batman during a helicopter ride. Why is Donald Trump obsessed with Bane in The Dark Knight Rises? There's quite a lot here we can get into, but it's all part of the character building. Kind of like how you have Elon Musk associated with Tony Stark or any of these other characters, Constantine. We're talking about historical personages, like these are world stage roles. The other day we discussed Jeff Bezos and Nimrod. But anyway, we're talking about Batman and where this all comes from. And here's where it gets kind of interesting from a Metascript perspective. Again, just a random conversation on Gilded. I was talking about the Count of Monte Cristo. So the Count of Monte Cristo is about a guy who gets thrown into prison unfairly for something like 16 years by Napoleon. And this is one of the things we were talking about, was how he gets out at the age of 33. So again, Edmond Dantes spends 14 years in prison, escapes at the age of 33. Now, he was played by Jim Caviezel, the guy from Sound of Freedom. Jim Caviezel played Count of Monte Cristo and he played Jesus Christ. When he played Jesus Christ, he was 33. when Mel Gibson hired him to do it. He was 33, played a 33-year-old, and now he plays Count of Monte Cristo, who crawls out of his, quote, tomb at the age of 33. And the other connection here is the Count of Monte Cristo is sort of the proto-Batman. The masked, very wealthy vigilante taking revenge on the people in the criminal underworld, that kind of thing. Watchdog says, trying to cut off IPR again. Yeah, we were having a number of interruptions. I'm not sure exactly what's causing it, but I think we're past it. Hopefully we're past it. Okay, well, anyway, continuing. So Joaquin Phoenix is in the new movie about Napoleon, and that's where we bring in this part about how, okay, so he is portraying Napoleon, who has corresponded with Trump, and there's this thing about Trump now. So Trump has been portrayed as a number of different characters, and more recently, since he's been under arrest, he's been charged with 91 different things. They've characterized him as like a mafia don, like a bad don, which is one of the names that we're using. So Abaddon from the Bible, Revelation 9:11, about the king reigning over the abyss. The abyss is a reference to the sinking of the Titanic and the documentary Ghosts in the Abyss, where James Cameron was when 9/11 happened. And 9/11 was, of course, foreshadowed in his movie here, in his movie The Titanic in 1997. So this storyline here, the king in the abyss, Abaddon, Abaddon, Donald Trump, gets even a little deeper when you look at the historical personage of Napoleon. So here's this article called The Truth, Napoleon Was a Hoax. And he gets into the name Napoleon and connects it with Apollo or Apollyon. Apollyon, the destroyer. Again, Abaddon is the Hebrew word for the Greek word Apollyon or English word destroyer. Now, the point of this article here, and this is from AmsterdamWar.com, he says any Bonaparteophile needs to read this article. It's an essay. It says, Napoleon Bonaparte, of whom so much has been said and written, never existed. He is nothing more than an allegorical personage. He's the personification of the sun, and we can prove the assertion by showing everything related to Napoleon that has been borrowed from the sun. So if you've familiarized yourself with, for example, Caesar's Messiah, that's a really good example of this concept by Joseph Atwill, about how the military exploits of Titus Flavius were actually based on the Gospels. And the Gospels are templated off of the personification of the sun. Well, here, he breaks down the character of Napoleon Bonaparte, where he's born, names, and everything about him, and shows how, in fact, you're looking at a personification of the sun itself. But he goes, what's in a name? The sun is Apollo. Napoleon, it's unquestionable the word Apollo means exterminator. And it seems the name was given by the Greeks to the sun on account of the injury it did to them before Troy. Now, Apollo is the same word as Apollyon. The two Greek words are the same, to destroy, kill, exterminate. So my point here, Napoleon contrived, and this person fulfilling the destroyer. This Apollyon the destroyer has been attached to Donald Trump, as we will continue. Like the other day, I was talking about how he's out there on the campaign trail as the Trumpinator, second coming Trumpinator. Now, this is where it gets interesting, too. James Cameron filmed T2. T2, Terminator, Judgment Day. Donald Trump coming back for his second coming. Of course, Judgment Day, Donald Trump's second coming campaign kicked off in Waco, where Waco was burned when Dave Koresh said it was Judgment Day. 33-year-old burned to death. Now, Waco happens, and then there's Donald Trump